McCrispy strips are now at McDonald's. Tender, juicy, and its own sauce. Would you look at that? Well, you can't see it, but trust me, it looks delicious. New McCrispy strips, now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I am paging Dr. Chanda.
I am the Dr. Chanda.
And I'm a licensed clinical psychologist.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Paging Dr. Chanda podcast, all things related to the Black culture.
Revolt. The doctor in front of your name.
What's up, family? It is Dr. Chanda. Tune in for another episode of Paging Dr. Chanda. All you have to do is keep watching. But listen, if you're just watching from the outside, just peeking through the window, I need you to commit. Come all the way in the house, and I need you to subscribe, like, and shoot me a comment in the comment section. I love responding to all of your comments. I love listening and reading how much you guys enjoy the topics that I'm talking about. So yeah, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, and join the tribe.
Stop scrolling for 1 second. This month, we are bringing back the psychology of Black women, the online class brought to you by yours truly, Dr. Chanda, licensed clinical psychologist. Y'all, I've been getting so many questions about why anxiety and depression presents differently in Black women. What do we do about it? How can we start to combat this? And what are some of the reasonings behind it? Listen, if you are a Black woman who has questions about anxiety and depression, it's something you experience or something your loved ones experience, or if you're a professional who works with Black women who experience anxiety and depression, I promise you this class is for you. Make sure that you sign up today. Hey, what's going on, everybody? You are now tuned into season 2 of the Paging Dr. Chanda podcast. Y'all, I'm so excited. JR, I didn't think I would make it this long. Like this, this is legit just an exciting moment because so many people come and go in this industry, and I'm just excited to be back for a second season. Y'all have been hitting me up in my DMs. I was on a little social media break, but y'all were asking, like, when's the next time the podcast is coming out? When's the next time we're going to get a YouTube video? When are you going to launch something on Facebook? And that was really meaningful to me because it showed me that you guys value my perspective and you value my clinical opinions. And I really appreciate being missed, if I can be truthfully honest. And season 2, I feel like is just going to be 10 times hotter than the first season. And I'm so happy to share this season with you. So what I need you to do right now in this very moment, I need you to take your device and I need you to share this podcast with as many people as possible. So if you're listening via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else we listen to the audio podcast on Wednesdays, I need you to share it with as many people as possible. If you are tuned into the YouTube that launches on Thursday nights or on the Facebook Live that launches on Thursday nights around 9 p.m., I need you to click that share button at the bottom part of your screen and share it with as many people as possible. Today is going to be a very important episode. We're going to be talking about some current events that has been transpiring over the past month. And I feel as though it's important for me to hold space for you guys because even though I haven't really been talking about it, I haven't really been on the scene like that, I need to hold space for y'all. Like we've been through a lot. Caregivers are going through a lot. People who are in the helping profession, we're going through a lot, having to support so many people with the tragedies that this country has been experiencing. And I feel like right now more than ever, this country is in need of mental health support. And I'm so happy to offer that to you in this first season 2 episode. But before we get into that, I just wanted to give you an update as to some of the things that I've been doing. So you guys know the last episode of the Paging Dr. Chanda podcast was probably around March-ish. So around March is when we decided to take a pause so that we can gear up for season 2 and come back strong. During that season, y'all know, if you've been following me on Instagram, I had like a lot of speaking engagements lined up for March and April. It was literally like every single weekend to the point where I didn't have time to record on the weekend. I didn't really have time to shoot any content for social media on the weekend, which is when I usually do it. So I had to take a break from that. So even though I took a break from the social media stuff and the podcasting stuff, I felt as though I was still walking in purpose because I was still able to reach so many people through public speaking and talking about mental health and faith in mental health and Black mental health at Rutgers. And it was just a beautiful experience, even though some areas of my life were I was, dialing it back a little bit so I could tend to other areas. In addition to that, y'all know I have been launching the private practice. Well, it's already launched, but building the private practice. So right now, I finally have a name. So y'all ready for this? JR, you ready for this? My private practice name is Oasis Wellness Hub. That's cute, right? JR's over there clapping his hands. Thank you, JR. I worked hard on that name. So I want this to be a hub. Why Oasis? Because an oasis is basically a body of water in a dry place, in a desert place, right? And so I want it to be a place where people, where families, where teens can come when they feel as though they're in a dry point in their lives, when they feel as though things aren't working out for them in life. I want them to feel like they can come to Dr. Chanda's practice and get that oasis feeling that they need. When they feel like life is, going through so many ups and downs, they can come to my practice and get whatever it is that they need. So I'm excited for y'all to come to the hub. If you're in need of any types of services, y'all know what to do. You can hit me up on any sort of, on my website, which is also launching soon, and also via email. My phone number, my business phone number is listed on my social media page. So excited about that. In addition to that, so while I have been on this little break, so you guys know I also function in ministry, so I've had the opportunity to serve alongside my parents in order to create the 26th annual Prayer Power Conference. And it was an amazing time. It was blessed. So many people received a charge in their prayer lives, and it's just always an honor to serve my mother and father in ministry. In addition to that, so I literally been taking care of myself. I was texting my homegirl, Dr. Afia. I'm like, Dr. Afia, I ran 5 miles for the first time in my life. Y'all, I'm not a runner at all. But during this break, like this time away from social, this time away from, podcasting and doing other things that I really enjoy, I had a chance to really tap into my physical, spiritual, and mental health. And that meant for me, running, right? Like starting the running journey, being able to just build endurance physically. So y'all, your girl has been running every morning. Like it legit has been changing my life, and I don't want to go back. And that's one thing I vowed to myself to never do. I'll never lose that balance again. I want to be able to feel like I can put as much work and effort into like the physical things as well as the spiritual things and the mental things, while also being able to show up in these other spaces in my life, because I know God has called me to not just work with individuals on an individual basis in therapy, but also He's called me to platforms. He's called me to be able to speak to the masses. He's called me to be able to, go on TV and talk about mental health. So I want to be able to do all of those things, but also be able to hold that balance. And that's just one of the things that I've really been practicing during this time away. But I cannot tell y'all how excited I am to be back, because it's been a journey, y'all. It has been a journey. One of the things in my return back onto social media that I've been talking about is how I've been practicing creative self-care. So basically, for us creators, those who are in the creative industry, y'all know that when it's time for us to take a break or to take a step back, it can be hard not to create anything. So I figured that it would probably be best for me to engage in creative methods of self-care. And for me, that included, going to art exhibits and going to, engaging in plant care, like all these different strategies and methods that I've been using in order to take care of myself from a creative angle. I posted about it on my social media page, but also if you want a whole episode on it, I can do that too. I just need y'all to drop a comment in the comment section or write a rating in the podcast so that I can know that's something that y'all truly want. And while I'm here, I need y'all to go ahead and rate the podcast. So y'all don't know how much that helps the podcast, but it really helps with numbers and helping with the algorithm and boosting the podcast up to be in the ranks of like some of the top mental health podcasts. And I really believe that, so many people are being blessed with this podcast, and I truly enjoyed the things that y'all have been sharing so far. But do me a favor, continue to rate the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere else you listen to the audio podcast. All right, so y'all know the first segment that we typically get into is the hot off the press segment. So this is typically where we talk about things that are happening in the news, things that are happening in regards to current events. So for today, we're going to actually stay on the hot off the press segment. We're going to be talking about the current events, and then we're going to kind of segue into what that means to us, what that means in regards to us taking care of our mental health, and how we can combat this on an individualistic as well as on a communal or systemic level in order to combat some of these things that we've been experiencing over the past month. All right, so I'm going to start with May the 14th, 2022. So on May the 14th, 2022, there was a mass shooting that occurred in Buffalo, New York, and at Tops Friendly Market.
The new McCrispy strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy strip dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
So those of you who aren't familiar with the Buffalo, New York area, so I am not too familiar with it either, but apparently in the east side of the neighborhood, this is where predominantly black people reside. So in this area at the Tops Friendly Market, there was a shooting. So apparently this individual specifically targeted black people, therefore he went to a predominantly black neighborhood in a black grocery store, or predominantly black consumers. 10 people were killed, 3 other people were injured. The shooter live streamed part of the attack. And so whenever somebody live streams an attack, they're trying to send a message. They want you to know that they meant what they're doing. They want you to know that they're not remorseful. They want you to know that, I did this and it is what it is. It's really a bold statement that they're making. And when I was thinking about this specific case, I want us to kind of keep into perspective that, of course, it's tragic that so many people passed away, so many lives were lost. I'm sorry, didn't just pass away, they were killed, gunned down. And also keep in mind the racial implications that are impacting this, right? So it wasn't that just random people died. No, these were targeted people. These were black people, individuals of African descent. He specifically went into this neighborhood to target these people. And y'all know I'm not into re-traumatizing yourself, because I feel as though America capitalizes off of black trauma, so they're going to resurface that live stream over and over again because people want to see it, right? And so I'm not into that type of stuff, but I did accidentally see it. It came up on my feed, or somebody had sent it to me before I knew what it was. And so you see when this individual is shooting people and targeting black people, and you see when he gets to the white people, he accidentally kills them and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to target you." And to me, that was so hurtful, that was painful, because of course, again, he was sending that message that he was targeting a specific group of people. When thinking about the racial trauma of this, and if you guys don't know what racial trauma is, I want you to go back a few episodes. We talk about it at length in this podcast. We talk about how we can be traumatized based on racially stimulating situations that are provoked by racism, right? And so with this specific individual who killed so many people in this grocery store, I can imagine how many people experience racial trauma or race-based traumatic stress after watching this. I'm not talking about the other people in the grocery store. I'm talking about you watching it at home. I'm talking about your mom, your sister, your brother, your cousin, people who were at home and watching this or even hearing about it, because that's how trauma works. We're going to get into vicarious trauma in a minute. So we had this shooting that occurred on May the 14th in 2022. And so weeks later, not too far after that, there was another shooting that happened at an elementary school. Researchers and newscasters, they're actually saying with the numbers that were generated now, we can say that this is the worst mass shooting in a school setting that we've had in history. So this is worse than Sandy Hook. This is worse than the other school shootings that we've previously had. Think about it. After experiencing and witnessing the situations that happened on May the 14th, weeks later, we're being re-traumatized. We're being re-exposed to another mass shooting. Now, my heart, I had no other, I couldn't do anything else but to sob and to have a heavy heart for the individuals who were lost. And again, going back to the racial implications, of course, it's so many factors that are involved in this, but also thinking about going back to the Buffalo shooting, this individual wasn't necessarily, he killed people. It was a massacre that happened at this grocery store, but then he was carried out with care by the police. He wasn't gunned down on the spot like so many of our brothers and sisters, like Brother John Crawford or Tamir Rice. Both of these individuals were gunned down by the police, not for shooting anybody, not for pointing a rifle at anybody, but they were simply holding a toy gun. John Crawford had a rifle that was, it wasn't a real rifle, it was a toy rifle. So it was designed to look like a rifle in a Walmart. He wasn't pointing it at nobody, he simply just had it in his hand and he was gunned down. Tamir Rice was playing with a toy gun that happened to be green. I've never saw a real green gun in my life, but the police officers don't see that. They see black people, and when an individual is black, they're more likely to be perceived as a threat by law enforcement because of internal biases. And so when we take these into consideration and we look at how this white individual, I don't even remember this dude's name, but we see this individual being carried out by the police, handled with care, being tended to with his wounds, giving him water to drink. I saw him, putting water in his mouth to drink. And I'm not saying you don't treat people like a human being, because at the end of the day, y'all know I endorse Christian values. I believe that we are to again treat people like a human being, but also keep the same energy with him that y'all did with Tamir Rice. Keep the same energy with him that y'all did with Philando Castile. Keep the same energy with him that y'all did with Breonna Taylor. And that's how we know, like, it's a deeper issue. It's not necessarily just about the guns. Let me be clear. Guns is an issue. I'm not one of them people who's saying, oh, guns ain't the issue. No, guns is the issue. But also we're dealing with the matter of those unconscious biases, a matter of the heart. And so it's so heartbreaking when thinking about all these tragedies that are impacting us, and 2 weeks later, y'all, having to deal with the things that happened at the school, having to deal with so many students and teachers being gunned down at the schools. Y'all, this was heartbreaking. And I had no other, if I could just kind of express to y'all some of the things that I was hearing from other professionals, right? So people experiencing frustration. People who live in New York, some of the homies, the therapists who live in New York, who were like, how am I supposed to provide care for my clients if I'm traumatized too based on what's going on? How am I supposed to show up for my clients in Texas if, I'm traumatized too by what happened in these school settings? And it's so many people who were impacted by these specific situations, and we really have to take a second not only to address the systemic issues, not only to address the political issues and the guns and policy and the infrastructure pertaining to gun laws and things of that nature. We have to address those. I'm not saying we don't have to, but we also really need to be paying attention to our mental health. Is this impacting my daily functioning? Is this impacting my mental health? I had a couple people hitting me up like, what do we do from here? I don't know how to make sense of this. I don't know how to take my kid to daycare anymore and function without worrying at home. And I just want y'all to know that is absolutely normal to experience, and that's why I wanted to hold space for you today. It is normal to experience these emotions, whether you're anxious, whether you're fearful, whether you're upset. Whatever it is absolutely normal. You can experience a wide range of emotions because you are human. And I want to normalize that for you today. So we're holding space, y'all. We are holding space. So why is this topic important? So I kind of alluded to in the beginning of this podcast how vicarious trauma works. Not saying that every individual who watched this thing on TV or who has heard about it is traumatized, but I think it is important for us to acknowledge that vicarious trauma can play a role in this. So when we talk about trauma, we're basically saying an individual who experiences a very difficult situation where they don't have the internal resources to cope with it. And vicarious trauma is basically an indirect exposure to a traumatic event through first-hand account or a narrative of that event. So not necessarily saying that I got into a car accident, but hearing about a family member or a friend being involved in a bad car accident. That can cause what we call vicarious trauma to an individual. Not saying that I was physically attacked, but me witnessing on TV. I think a lot of us experienced vicarious trauma when the whole world watched our brother George Floyd lose his life on TV after having a knee on his neck for 9 minutes. That was called vicarious trauma. We weren't directly traumatized, but vicariously we experienced trauma through witnessing it through our brother. And the same thing can happen when we witness so many tragedies that are happening back to back. It's not like we had enough room to breathe. It wasn't like these tragedies happened months apart. It was literally weeks, y'all. Literally weeks.
Choosing a bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drink that's all flavor and just 100 calories? Easy. Choosing between creamy vanilla, double chocolate, and sea salt caramel flavors? A little harder. Try the delicious new Starbucks Frappuccino light drinks. Look for them wherever you buy groceries. Start with Starbucks coffee.
And not only these national tragedies, but think about what happens in our communities from day to day. I just saw one of my homies, shout out to Mental Black Men Heal in Philadelphia. So Black Men Heal, they posted that they lost 14 people in Philly over Memorial Day weekend due to gun violence. This isn't necessarily just something that we just have to pay attention to because it made the national news and it's, these tragedies. Of course, it was horrible that it happened, but we also have to pay attention to, okay, how is this also impacting us in our communities, right? Because no situation is more important than the other. No life is more valuable than the other. We definitely praying for the families in Texas, but we said that was around 19 people. They said 14 in Philly. That's not too far off. That's not a significant difference. So we really have to pay attention to how these situations are impacting us. And so how do we deal with the anxiety of the emotions associated with these tragedies that we're experiencing, whether it's day to day or a national tragedy? So one of my line sisters reached out and said, I'm having a hard time even leaving the house. Like I don't want to leave the house. And like I said, that's normal. But because y'all know who I am, y'all know my background, I'm a firm advocate in utilizing faith-based strategies in order to overcome some of the psychological turmoil that we might experience. The number one thing that I suggest is prayer. Sometimes sometimes taking a step back and really allowing yourself to be centered through prayer and allowing the Holy Spirit to center you can change your perspective when it comes to dealing with national tragedies. Because think about it, we don't have complete control over what happens to our children when they leave our house. We don't have complete control over what happens to our loved ones when they leave our house. But what we do have is James 5:16, which says the prayers of the righteous availeth much. So when I pray, that means that my prayers of the righteous, they're going to avail. They have to come to pass. Why? Because I'm righteous, because he called me righteous. So when I'm experiencing, whether it's anxiety or fear or the wide range of emotions that us as people that we've been experiencing as a result of these tragedies, we can pray, we can give it to God. And I know it sounds simple, but I promise y'all, it works. It literally works. You're looking at a testimony of how prayer has changed and turned around so many different situations. It definitely works. Number 2, it is important to be safe without allowing anxiety to paralyze you. So to be safe without allowing anxiety to paralyze you. Okay, what does that mean, Dr. Chanda? I'm so glad you asked. So when it comes to national tragedies and the things that we've witnessed via, watching it on TV or what have you, yes, we might have a level of anxiety, a level of fear associated with that. That might make me a bit more vigilant, making me more aware of what's going on. I might be more cognizant of walking to my car, from walking into the grocery store. I might be more aware. But those situations, of course, you give yourself time to grieve and to process things, but it shouldn't it shouldn't paralyze you. We cannot allow anxiety to paralyze us, to keep us into our homes. That can turn into another diagnosis, which we call agoraphobia. So agoraphobia is usually individuals who have some level of anxiety to the point where they are not able to leave their homes. Sometimes it can get so restricting to the point where they can't even leave a certain area in their houses. So I feel so unsafe that I can't leave my bedroom. I feel so unsafe that I can't leave my bathroom. I have to set up my mattress in the bathroom. Yes, I've seen all these types of cases. So agoraphobia is the more intense version of this, but it starts with us allowing fear to paralyze us allowing anxiety to paralyze us, and keeping us in our homes and keeping us away from family and friends. So we have to, of course, be vigilant, be prayerful, be mindful of our surroundings, but we cannot allow anxiety to keep us confined to our homes or keep us into that safe space. I'm not saying we shouldn't be safe. Yes, we should be safe, but we shouldn't be practicing what we call safety behaviors, which is basically behaviors that we engage in order to reduce anxiety or to make us feel as though we can't. It makes us feel as though we're stuck in a certain way of living. We can't overcome certain things. So if y'all have questions about that, y'all can definitely reach out and ask, because I get a lot of questions when it comes to the safety behaviors. It's one thing that I often teach my families that I'm working with and parents and such. People who are anxious, they have safety behaviors, but it doesn't mean engaging in them is healthy. It doesn't mean that it's safe. That can keep us in cycles, and we perpetuate that hierarchy of anxiety. It keeps us from enjoying life. It keeps us from experiencing new things, and therefore we do not engage in that. Also, we are to support our children. So during times of national tragedy, yes, I want to hold space for y'all, but I also want you to hold space for your children. I want you to hold space for your younger cousins. I want you to hold space for, anybody in your life who might be a child, who might be having a hard time processing what's going on, right? Because at the end of the day, kids are feeling this thing too. We just had a whole school shooting. We had a whole massacre happening in Texas. That was televised on TV. We have to really start checking in with our children and not dismissing them because they're a particular age, that means that, they're not thinking about this, or they're not anxious about this, or they don't have emotions about that. No. Children are still human beings. They're going to experience a wide range of emotions just like we do. Therefore, as parents or guardians or caregivers, we want to validate their emotions. We want to help them label and name their emotions. So asking them, what is it that you're feeling right now? And we don't accept things like, I'm feeling okay, or I'm feeling good. Because I always say to my teens, good and okay, they are not emotions. All right is not an emotion. I need you to identify an emotion. If you have a hard time, I can show you a list of emotions and we can label it together. But it's important to get them to identify how they're feeling. In addition to that, we want to help to provide reassurance to our children, letting them know, yes, what happened was scary in Texas. Yes, what happened to these children, it was scary, but I want to reassure you that when you're here in this home, you're safe. Mommy and daddy are going to do what we need to do to protect you. You are safe here. That is how we build up their confidence. That's how we build up that level of reassurance, so that they don't feel like they're the next target. Right? So we always want to make sure we're providing those things, especially to our children. So I really hope those 3 strategies, those 3 tips helped you. Like I said, it was my goal to hold space for you. It was my goal to really get into acknowledging how we can be there for one another, and to really provide a safe space, to provide an emotionally supportive, safe space in order to help us to overcome what we're dealing with. Because we don't heal in isolation. Us trying to overcome this by ourselves is not going to work. It happened to us as a community. It happened as a national tragedy. Therefore, we must target it from a communal angle. So y'all, that is my episode for today. I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed it. Please reach out with any questions, and I want you to enjoy the remainder of your day. Catch me next Wednesday on the Paging Dr. Chanda podcast. God bless.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.